What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA show. And we are back with the second dose of 10-7, the second episode today. And we're doing this in honor of UFC 308, which I've said for a while is the biggest card of the year, or at least one of them, let's say. But it's the card that I'm most excited about for the year. But we have a very special guest. We have actually both of our mutual friend, but really Justin's friend for a very long time, professional sports bettor, Aaron, joining us today, and he's going to talk about,
Hey, everybody.
give us hopefully a bunch of tips and cool advice and just his general thoughts on what he thinks is going to go down for UFC 308 tomorrow. I know I'm placing a bet. I don't think Aaron's going to agree with my bet. Well, I'm curious to see what he thinks. So without further ado, Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I've been talking to Justin as long as you guys have been running this, that I'd like to get on here sometime. And I did a little studying this week to try and catch up on everything that I don't know. And there's a lot. But I'm mostly up on what the numbers are, on who's betting, on what's being bet, and things like that. So whereas I'm not going to be able to help out quite so much as far as the technical stuff, pretty good with the gambling side of it. So, yeah, I'm definitely down to have a good time here.
All right, awesome. Well, good news for us. We got Justin for the technical stuff, so we're all covered there. I can't help the technical side either. I can just sort of fan out. But let's get right in the mix. Let's talk about the main event because Justin and I disagree, and he believes Max is going to get it done. I'm going with Ilia Topuria. We both kind of made videos of our own explaining why we think what we think. But Aaron, let's turn it over to you from your analysis of the numbers, the odds. Do you have a feeling as to how this fight's going to go down?
Okay, so here's my feelings on this. First off, I'll start this off by saying I kind of used to look at Max Holloway as a great fighter, but kind of like a blown up featherweight. You know, like when he was fighting at lightweight a lot, I always kind of figured, well, he doesn't have the greatest success at lightweight. He lost to Poirier. He had a great fight against Poirier, but he lost against Poirier. When he fought Gaethje about 6 months ago, I actually put $7,500 on Gaethje at -150 because I figured I see no way that Gaethje loses this. And man, I was just completely wrong. Can I swear on here? Is swearing okay?
Oh yeah.
Swearing,
Go for it.
I was completely fucking wrong. But it was a super exciting fight, whatever. So it was the most entertaining $7,500 I've ever spent. At least not in Vegas, mind you, but that's different. But I said to myself that night, I will never doubt Max Holloway again. That is a bad motherfucker. And here I am doubting Max Holloway again. But it's not that I doubt Max Holloway. Max Holloway is a bad man. Oh my God, he's amazing. His spin kicks are going to be problematic for Ilia. But what I keep coming down to is Ilia, I just feel like, is the evolution of MMA right now. Ilia is, as far as I'm concerned, Ilia is better standing up. He's definitely better on the ground. I mean, this is a guy who, so he beat Volkanovski pretty easily, really, standing up. Now, if you want to say that, oh, well, Volk has a couple losses, whatever, it's not like Volk didn't look sharp. It's not like Volk didn't, he didn't take like a bunch of damage it's definitely not in the first fight against Islam. In the second fight, yeah, he got knocked out, but it was kind of a clip knockout. It's not like he was like out completely. So, but yes, he's getting a little older, whatever else. But it's not like when he came in against Ilia that people were like, wow, this guy's way slower. He's way whatever. And Max could not solve Volkanovski at all. Now, the first fight, Volkanovski took him pretty easily. Second fight was pretty much of a draw, really. Some people thought Holloway won, but it was close at a minimum. Definitely nobody very obviously won it. But the third fight, Volkanovski beat that ass. That's all there is to it. Now, one of the things Max is great at, other than just his normal boxing in that, is the man can take a pounding. Oh my God, can he take a pounding like I don't think anyone else has. Unfortunately, I don't think he's ever seen a pounding like Ilia Topuria has. Ilia Topuria pulled up Bryce Mitchell on the ground. Nobody does that. Like Bryce Mitchell's just good at grabbing people and holding on and twisting them in places and shit like that. He just, when Mitchell went for that, he just turned him over, started beating the fuck out of him. It was no problem. And whether or not, now some of it is going to come down to if it just stays at, oh, we're just going to fight, we're just going to box, I'm going to show you that I can beat you standing up, Holloway has a better shot. But if Ilia actually goes in there and is like, look, I'm going to do the best I can to make give myself the best opportunity to win this fight, he's going to go in, he's going to mix things up, and he's going to grab Holloway. Holloway doesn't have that great of ground. I mean, realistically, obviously it's 10 years ago, but Conor McGregor tooled him up on the ground. And Conor McGregor's not exactly
he was 18 years old, dude. He was 18 or 19 years old. Like,
21 or 22. He was young.
The point is, he was young. We're talking 13 years ago. I mean, Max hasn't got to his potential till recently.
And Aaron,
what has he done on the ground since?
I mean, what has he done on the ground since? He has an 84% takedown defense average, and he's gotten up every single time. I don't think he's ever been subbed. Okay. I think we're overlooking this defense, and you're like, well, he hasn't fought any wrestlers. Everybody can wrestle. Everybody can wrestle in the UFC.
Sure, but what I'm saying is that he doesn't have Ilia Topuria's ground game. And if Ilia grabs him, he's going to have a much harder time. It's kind of like, everyone said, Conor McGregor or whoever has, they have excellent. Yeah, Conor McGregor has absolutely fantastic ground defense, but you stick him in against someone like Khabib, and Khabib just shoot him up because it's, it's one thing, you've got supposedly the irresistible force and the immovable object. Yeah, well, Max Holloway is not an immovable object on the ground. Ilia Topuria might be an irresistible force. So
now,
go ahead.
And Aaron, I got to jump in to say, because I kind of agree with you. I think Justin's the one that disagrees choosing Max. Those are essentially the reasons why I believe Ilia is going to come out victorious. I think people are overlooking the fact that he is a wrestler at his base. That's what he started with. That was his first martial arts, not only Greco-Roman wrestling, but also he went on to jiu-jitsu. He was training his son in jiu-jitsu at a very young age. So I do think he's got the edge there. I do tend to agree with you. Justin, do you still feel the exact same way? Does any of this sway you?
No, it's not going to sway me. And regardless, Ilia can obviously win the fight. But we look at the resume. Like, he has 3 credible wins. 3. Volkanovski, who's a Volkanovski that got knocked out 4 months prior to. He's had 3. He's fought in the cage for 75 minutes with Max Holloway. He's fought Brian Ortega. He got knocked out by Islam. He went 25 minutes. I mean, he's had 100 minutes of cage time between Max Holloway and more than 100 minutes and Islam Makhachev. Like, I mean, we talked earlier on the first show. We're talking about showing up time and time again, guys. That's the crazy part about fighting, is you cannot show up 100%. The Max Holloway that Volkanovski fought is not the Max, or the Volkanovski that Holloway fought isn't Volkanovski that why am I blanking his name right now? Ilia, the guy that Ilia fought. He's, like I said, when he got knocked out by Islam, it was a short notice situation. He gets knocked out, takes no time to recover. He fought 4 months after he got knocked out from Ilia. You look at Justin Gaethje, who was brutally knocked out. He's taking the rest of the year off. I mean, we got to talk about mental health. Volkanovski isn't the same Volkanovski. Now you look at Holloway, on the other hand. He, in my opinion, has gotten better since the Volkanovski fight. I think.
How much time has Holloway spent in the ring, by the way, his last 4 fights?
Probably 100 minutes. Probably 25 minutes.
Exactly.
Or 100 minutes.
So those minutes add up on Holloway also.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and there is the counter of that too. But he hasn't been rocked. He hasn't been hurt. He hasn't been dropped. Dustin Poirier came the closest. I think he's only been dropped once.
He's definitely been rocked. Now, and like, also, nobody has taken more significant strikes in the history of the UFC than Max Holloway has. So if we're talking about stuff that builds up, he's definitely taken a heck of a lot more than Volkanovski did. But he hasn't been knocked out.
And he hasn't showed it.
He's a beast, but that shit does add up at a certain point in time. I was amazed in the second and third fights against Volkanovski. I thought by the second round, I was like, by the 4th round, Holloway's not even going to be able to walk. And Holloway just walks through that shit. And the dude has an absolutely inhuman ability to absorb punishment. But I don't think he's going to have enough of an ability to absorb it against Ilia. That's just the way I look at it. But I'll let you finish. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Well, I think this is a great. I mean, I think we got our answer from the professional sports bettor. It sounds like the pick to make is Ilia Topuria. Justin, I know you disagree. Yep, go for it.
Let me break that down a little bit more. So Ilia Topuria is about a minus 240 favorite. So basically, you have to pay $240 for every $100 you want to win. To win at that threshold, he has to win approximately 72% of the time, maybe like right in there. So is he going to win, in the neighborhood of 3 times out of 4? I personally think he's probably going to win in the neighborhood of 5 times out of 6, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. Given that, then yes, that is a bet. If I thought that he was only going to win 60% of the time or 65% of the time, even though he's a decided favorite, you wouldn't be getting the proper odds to do it. So if you just think, oh, I think he wins 2 out of 3, then your bet has to be on Holloway, because on Holloway, you're going to get like plus 210, and 2 out of 3 is going to make you money. But at minus 240, he needs to be winning about 72% of the time, or more than 72% of the time for you to make money. And I think he does.
Okay, so I love the discussion of numbers. These are things that I was not aware of, even though I love math and I love numbers.
But you know numbers?
But I didn't know the science of obviously betting. So that's super cool. All right, guys. Well, so I think we can say, there you go. There's the mathematically sound advice. Bet on Ilya. But again, as Justin said, and I think
I'm taking Holloway to win 500, baby.
Yeah,
I'm taking
go for it. I think Holloway could definitely pull it off.
You can come to the window here, Justin. No problem. I got your betting window right here.
Now I gotta get to this next fight because I'm dying to know Aaron's opinion. I'm really hoping he's agreeing with me because I'm betting on this fighter no matter what. I don't care. He's my favorite fighter. I told Justin earlier, if I don't bet on him, then I just would feel like I'm kind of letting him down, if that makes sense. Like I just have.
Aaron's taking him too. Aaron's taking him too.
Oh really? Okay, so go. I want to hear your thoughts on Khamzat Chimaev versus Robert Whittaker.
Khamzat Chimaev, as long as the only concern, as far as I'm concerned, is his gas tank. He just grabs mother. So one of the reasons that I like Chimaev, and he's got some issues with Ramzan Kadyrov, some other shit like that. But the thing that I like most about Chimaev is he's not so much looking for, oh, I want to put in the most entertaining fight. He's like, what can I do to win this fight? What can I do to put myself in the best position to win this fight? And the vast majority of the time, it's just go grab a motherfucker. And he did it against Kamaru Usman and made it look easy in the first round until he injured himself. Nobody does that against Kamaru Usman.
It was a short notice fight, and he was up a weight class.
Okay, that's fine, but still, Colby Covington was like an all-American wrestler, and Colby Covington, yes, they wanted to stand up and whatever, because that's what Daddy Dana wanted them to do, but realistically, nobody could do what he did to them. And if you want to make excuses, that's fine. You can make excuses, Justin, that, oh, well, but he went up a weight class and whatever, but he got fucking tooled. He got absolutely destroyed by him in that first round. And realistically, I think it might have been a 10-8 on a couple of cards.
It was 10-8.
Yeah, like he just destroyed him. And then everyone's like, oh, well, the last 2 rounds, he didn't do that good. It's like he had a broken wrist or whatever it was, and he still was in there. It was in there fighting. I mean, he got when he fought against God darn it,
Gilbert Burns.
Gil Burns, yes, exactly. Thank you. When he fought against Gil Burns, that was a dogfight. And Gil Burns fought the best fight of his life, and Gil Burns is a bad man, and it still wasn't enough.
Missed him by 15 pounds.
Whittaker. Well, was that one? That wasn't. I don't think that was. That wasn't that. That was a different. No, he made
weight, but he was the one where he was kind of touching the towel. Maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, okay, sure. That was the Kevin. You're thinking of the one where he and Kevin Holland and Nate Diaz all swapped. Diaz was supposed to fight Holland, and
Diaz was supposed to fight Khamzat.
Yeah. Oh, was he? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Jesus. They're going to feed him to that. Jesus, that was crazy. Yeah, and then Diaz ended up fighting. Was that Ferguson? Oh, Diaz fought Holland.
Ferguson.
Holland fought Khamzat. But that's the thing.
Yeah.
Chimaev just goes in and grabs Holland. Just fucking grabs him. And Holland actually acquitted himself really well. But it's not fucking enough. Chimaev is just a beast. And Whittaker is... I love Whittaker. Whittaker's a great guy.
On your laptop? Are you on your laptop, Josefa?
Yeah. Is everything okay?
What's Whittaker's takedown defense percentage?
Let me look. Great question.
While you're at that, why don't you tell me what Kamaru Usman's takedown percentage was before or after that? I'm pretty sure it's 100%, maybe 98%.
Colby. So I'll tell you this. I remember this. Colby Covington supposedly was, and no, it's not Colby Covington. It was Leon Edwards supposedly was the first person to ever take down Kamaru Usman. That's my recollection. But then Khamzat just took him down over and over and over. I 100% agree with you. Nobody gives Khamzat enough credit for what he did to Kamaru Usman. Even Kamaru Usman's picking Khamzat in this fight to beat Robert Whittaker, but nobody else is seeming to give it any credibility. I don't know why.
Right. I love Whittaker. Whittaker's a great fighter, but Whittaker couldn't get it done against a very one-dimensional Israel Adesanya, who has, had some. I personally feel like Whittaker destroys someone like Sean Strickland, But who knows? I don't know. Sean Strickland's just weird in multiple ways, so I don't even want to get into that. But whereas Khamzat, I feel like it's another situation where Khamzat can beat him standing, and he definitely can beat anybody on the ground, basically. So this is another situation. I don't think it's actually. I think Chimaev should be a larger favorite. The main issue is we don't know what his cardio is like. We don't know how he actually. We do kind of know his cardio is like. His cardio is not fucking great. He's never been past the third round in anything. So hopefully for the bet, hopefully he can stand and he can continue going and isn't going to gas out. If he gasses out, then yeah, it's obviously if it becomes a cardio situation, then Whittaker is definitely a favorite. But I think Chimaev is just going to get enough damage in early, and that he either finishes it or that he gas tanks, or that he depletes Whittaker's gas tank as well.
So just a couple points. So number one, to answer Justin's question, Whittaker's takedown defense is 82%. Pretty good.
That's not great. It's okay.
And then number two, another thing I want to throw out to you, Aaron. So a lot of people are questioning Chimaev's potential gas tank, or are theorizing maybe that he has a high propensity to gas himself out for whatever reason, which I don't know if is necessarily founded. I still thought he did a great job against Kamaru Usman in the third round. But again, you mentioned the hand injury. But one thing I do want to throw out there, and I don't know if this changes your mind or bolsters your opinion that what's called Khamzat will win, but he's been training up in the upper mountains in Russia for the last, I think, 3 or 4 months with Russian Olympian coaches, complete isolation with high elevation to increase the amount of red blood cells in his body. So that should translate to greater cardio. Does that give you another boost of confidence, or not so much?
It makes me feel better for sure. Like that said, it's not something I was familiar with, but if it's what you're saying is true, then yes, that definitely makes me feel better. I've heard that Chimaev has a propensity to train too hard, and that's part of what his issue has been in the past. That he burns himself out, or he injures himself, or whatever else.
They fixed that.
Okay, and he obviously had an issue when he contracted COVID, and he wanted to quit and whatever else. If Khamzat comes in here and is a fully motivated Khamzat that doesn't have any injury issues, doesn't have anything, I think he should be like -500 or 600 here. The question marks that we have with he had a bad weight cut. He always has, which is kind of amazing to me that he has a bad weight cut to 185 and dude used to cut to 170. Same thing with it's weird to me that someone like Alex Ferreira cutting to 205 having any issues and he gets to 185 like nothing. Like the guy's just a fucking cyborg, but that's a separate conversation for a little bit later. But Chimaev, this is another situation, and I don't like sounding like a broken clock here, but a broken record actually. I think Chimaev is going to win this like 85, 90%, or 85 to 87% of the time, which should be like -600, -700. So it's the same. Odds are very similar in this one. So just so I have a $5,000 bet. I parlayed Topuria at -230 and Chimaev at -235. I got, the number off, right? Oh, you don't know. You don't do it off.
No.
Like plus 102. I got plus 102. So I bet 5,000 to win 5,100 on both of them on a parlay.
Okay, Justin, I know we need to hear your thoughts because I imagine you disagree. But before we do that, dude, that's what I was thinking of doing, was doing a parlay with Topuria and Khamzat, but I think I can't do it. I think I got to just do a pure Khamzat bet because, again, I normally never bet on fights, but I just want to bet on him because I just want to support him.
I'll give it a little chunk of mine if you want it. It's up to you.
Well, let me think about it. Okay, Justin, I know you got stuff to say.
I what I'm saying is, I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm not saying he's right as well. Khamzat, yeah, you're sure the Gilbert Burns fight I thought was an incredible fight, but he had to persevere through some stuff like that. Now we're going to talk about a bigger guy with allegedly better takedown defense. We talked about Brad Tavares, who has fought Robert Whittaker. We talked to him this morning about how great his wrestling takedown really is for a middleweight. And again, having your shot stuffed over and over is only going to tax your gas tank. And again, we're going into championship rounds, round 4 and 5. I don't see Khamzat coming out and knocking Robert Whittaker out in the first round or the second round. If anything, he can grind him out a little bit. But the true answer is going to be how he looks in the 4th and the 5th round, because against Gilbert in the 3rd round, I mean, he looked pretty tired to me, and I've never seen him look that exhausted before. And man, the tougher these guys get. And Robert Whittaker could be a gatekeeper, but Robert is always, there's the champion, just like Brad talked about. Then there's 1, 2, and 3. Champion 1, 2, 3. Robert is always in those top 4 spots, whether he's the intern champ, whether he's 1, 2, or 3. And here he goes to another shot. Now, Khamzat, on the other hand, I just don't think he has enough experience in the cage. Yeah, he's bullied around some guys, but his toughest fight's been Gilbert Burns, man. And Gilbert's a dog, but he's not Robert Whittaker. And, you look at, I'm trying to think.
I think he is Robert Whittaker, actually. I think he is Robert Whittaker. He's fought for the title once or twice and didn't quite get there. And he's always he was always right in 1,
Gilbert,
2, 3.
right?
Yeah, I feel like he is pretty much Robert Whittaker. I think he's he's
kind of more towards the downside of his career, and then after watching Robert's last fight,
maybe not 2 years ago, though. Not 2 years ago, though.
After the Khamzat fight, I think is when it started to happen. I think there was a lot of damage to be taken in there, and he's taken so much damage prior. But
after you play the Lions, you get beat up.
So here's another betting prop for you. Every team in the week after they play the Lions has lost 0-5. So just saying.
I've always said Dan Campbell is a fantastic coach, and I wish I had him as a coach at Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, of course he did.
I do want to say one thing, and I want both your thoughts on this. Why is it that for some reason with Khamzat, everybody focuses? It's not like they say, "Hey, he beat Gilbert Burns and he beat Kamaru Usman." It's like we didn't beat them impressively enough. Like we don't say that about Leon Edwards in his head kick knockout of Kamaru Usman. Just like, yo, he beat him twice. Everybody else were just like, yo, he beat this guy, he beat that guy, he beat that guy. He's beating all these champions. With Khamzat, it's never enough. It's never impressive enough. Why do you think that is? And is that fair?
Go ahead.
I have a take on this. My take on this is that he fights so infrequently that people need to fill the space with discussion about what he does do, what he doesn't do, where is he? Why hasn't he fought? Why isn't he fighting more? I mean, this is a guy who had 3 wins in like 6 weeks or something like that, and had the quickest turnaround, I believe, in UFC history since they stopped having fights on the same night. And then all of a sudden he's had like 3 fights in the last 4 years or whatever. So when you're not fighting all that often, it allows people to fill that space with conjecture. And when you fill this conjecture, people are always like, oh, well, there's a lot of things that people can talk about. Why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he doing that? And realistically, there could be multitude of reasons for it. But also realistically, like if you look at someone like Alex Pereira came into the UFC, a year and a half after him, and he got fast-tracked to a title. There's probably other reasons for that I don't want to necessarily get into quite yet. However, I feel like with Chimaev, with a lot of his issues, it's just kind of like, all right, well, we don't want a guy that's just going to go grab people and tackle them and put him down and that. But the main thing I feel like why people question him so much is just because they need to fill the space with something. And it's, they've got all these sports talk radio things and whatever, and they got to talk about something, and Khamzat's something to talk about because he looked like the golden boy when he first came out. And it's like, this guy, we should give him a title fight like after his second fight in the UFC. And maybe they could have, and he maybe would have won. But they're just kind of inching him up.
All right, well, there we have it, guys. I think I heard what I wanted to hear. That's just telling me I need to make this bet. I'm going to make it happen. So I'm very excited for that. And let's move on.
I'll tell you where you can get the best.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
I'll tell you where you can get the bet down best. There's a lot of different places. Gotcha. It ranges anywhere from 235 to 275. So
I just
you want to get down to 235?
I just go to the Bear Bank.
The Bear always makes it happen. I have all the outs.
So now let's move on to another huge fight. It's a little out of order here, but we got to talk about this fight. Rakic versus Ankalaev. I know Ankalaev, Aaron, I believe is somebody you want to see go up against Alex Pereira. To do that, he's got to win this fight. This is a really big fight, and I feel like it's totally been swept under the rug. I don't think many people, I don't know. Have you heard of people being excited about it? But I'm very excited. And I think Rakic has got a great chance as well. And that could be a really fun matchup. Ankalaev versus Pereira could be a great matchup. I think either way we're going to win. So, Aaron, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this matchup?
I don't have a ton of information on this. One thing that really bothers me with Ankalaev is that he's a combat sambo guy. And he is a very good grappler, a very high-level grappler, and he has 0 submission wins in his entire career, not a single one. And that's fine. Like, obviously, he can grapple, and he doesn't have to, but he's also a very good striker. And when I hear things like, oh, well, if I fight against if I fight against Alex Pereira, I'm going to I'll make a promise not to shoot for a takedown for the first 2 rounds. Like, why? If that's actually true, that's ridiculous and just completely stupid. Because yes, of course, the UFC wants people to stand up and fight and bang, and they want, highlight knockouts. But if you're in there trying to win the fight in the best possible way, or improve your odds of winning the fight as much as possible, you go grab Alex Pereira. Like, that's especially if you're very good at it, you go grab him. But like, it's one thing if it's like, oh well, like, and Justin, of course, being an actual professional fighter, I know Justin has told me before. He's like, I want to stand in there and bang. Justin is a high level wrestler. He's I think you're a brown belt or you're a black belt in
I've been a brown belt for 8 years, so essentially a black belt, I guess.
All right, so he's not good enough to be a black belt, so no big deal.
Right.
But that said, like, Justin has some serious grappling experience, but Justin just likes to get in there and bang. And that's one thing. But if it's like, oh, hey, your family's life is on the line, Justin's going to go, and he knows that the guy that he's fighting against doesn't have really very good takedown defense or isn't very good on the ground. Justin's going to go in there and grab the motherfucker and then break his arm or whatever it takes. It's much different when it's a situation where it's like, oh, I want to put on a good show versus I want to win this fight under all sets of circumstances. Khamzat Chimaev will fight that way, where he's going to do what he thinks he can to win the fight under all circumstances. Whereas Ankalaev, I think he's kind of like, oh, I can show that I can be an interesting champion. Obviously, a lot of these Eastern European fighters and Russian fighters, not that they're exactly Khamzat Chimaev, it's Russian. But all of these fighters, the UFC has a very hard time promoting them. A lot of it is language barrier. A lot of it is, a lot of them just kind of grab people and whatever. I personally think that Ankalaev is probably going to have a relatively easy time with this fight. Rakic has lost 2 of his last 4. He's coming off of a loss also. I think the line is, specifically on this fight, I think the line is probably about right. I think Ankalaev wins in the neighborhood of between 2 out of 3 and 3 out of 4. And the line, again, is right around -230 last I checked. So I think the line is about right. What I would love to see from Ankalaev, though, is for him to go in there and just grab the guy and just beat the crap out of him on the ground a little bit. Just to show him that, like, hey, you guys better keep Pereira away from me, because if I get Pereira's done being a champion. That's the way I look at it.
So just FYI, just so both of you know, Rakic did suffer a torn ACL when he fought Jan Blachowicz back in 2022. And I believe his coach also said he was either injured or sick. I can't remember. And again, Justin, I'm sure you're probably thinking, yeah, everybody's got something. I know that's probably true. And probably Yuri was dealing with things himself in that fight. But he did say in a recent interview that Rakic is now back to being fully healthy. I know they always say this too, but back to being fully healthy. And we're going to see a side of Rakic that we didn't see in the Yuri Prochazka fight, and he's going to come forward and do his thing. Does that sway either of you guys anyway, or Justin? Is that just
how long ago was Yuri?
Let me double check. I believe it was UFC 300, but I can't remember. Wasn't it UFC 300?
I believe it was this year.
We were at your house for UFC 300.
Yeah, it was UFC 300. It was the prelim. It was a preliminary fight. Remember? It was like the main. It was the last fight of the prelims.
Yeah, the featured prelim.
Year
like that.
April 13th. April 13th.
Oh, this year. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's only 6 months later. I mean, yeah, maybe he is healed a little bit better. And if he is, then good for him. But not a lot moves the needle for me as far as Alexander Rakic is concerned. Coming off of a loss, I feel like this is just kind of a tune-up sort of thing for Ankalaev. That doesn't mean that he's definitely a landmine for him, and he, of course, is not just a. To me, this is just a space holder for the ultimate, where it needs to be like, look, it needs to be Ankalaev and Pereira. Like, it's ridiculous that it hasn't happened already. So they keep making up excuses and whatever else. But this is just a placeholder fight. But again, that doesn't mean that Ankalaev is a gimme to win this either. I think he wins about as often as the odds are saying currently. Sorry, Justin, go ahead.
Oh, Justin, go ahead. Yeah, let's hear your thoughts.
No, I mean, I'm going to go with Ankalaev just for the UFC. They have a UFC storyline. Like I said, coming off a loss, putting him up against such a tall task. I think he's being set up for success here to really promote the Alex Pereira versus Ankalaev match eventually for the UFC championship.
So I've got a different perspective. And by the way, this is a lot of speculation. So I don't know if this is well backed or not. I'm going to go with Rakic, and this is not a very informed and educated guess, but here's why. I don't think of it as just a placeholder. I actually don't think the UFC wants Ankalaev as a champion, and I think they're trying to put somebody in front of him that's a very tough challenge. So I think the UFC made this fight thinking that maybe Ankalaev is a better fighter, fine, but I think they think for whatever reason the matchup maybe is difficult for Ankalaev, or Rakic does have a decent chance. I'm going to go Rakic, and I think also I kind of think it would be cool to have Rakic fight Pereira, because Rakic, man, if you saw him against Yuri in that first round, he looked amazing. His striking is so picture perfect. His technique was amazing. So I would like to see it, but I guess we'll see. So Aaron, oh yeah, go ahead.
Anybody that stands with Pereira is getting destroyed. That's all there is to it. Pereira is the best. UFC, as far as I'm concerned, the UFC to a large extent is just a kickboxing league at the top levels, because that's what they wanted. Because until somebody comes in and grabs them, they're not. I definitely agree with you with regard to they would love for Rakic to win this, because then it's like, oh, hey, that's less. Now we don't have to, because there's a lot of bubbling under with people like, it's kind of similar to like with Sean O'Malley, where people are like, Sean O'Malley really didn't deserve a title fight. And when he fought against, Sterling, Aljamain Sterling in the first 10 seconds against TJ Dillashaw, a guy that has grappling, that's a strong grappler, he shoots on him within 10 seconds. And meanwhile, against Sean O'Malley, a guy who is not known as a person with strong grappling, he doesn't go in for like the first 2 minutes. So I think a lot of this is narratives that they're trying to build. So I definitely agree with you on that, Huzefa. And they would love for Rakic, because then it's like, okay, cool. Now we can build up Rakic. And then when Pereira beats Rakic, it looks like, oh my God, Pereira is just, this world beater, and there's nobody that can stand up to him. So I 100% agree with you in that respect.
All right, cool. So I guess we'll see tomorrow. This is going to be a really fun fight. Speaking of Sean O'Malley, I believe he's talking about rematching Merab, and Merab saying that's what's going to be next. Who knows? We'll talk about that at another time. Okay, we got
easy fun.
We got two fights left that we want to talk about. So one, Justin, is your teammate, and we talked about it earlier today with Brad Tavares, who's also teammates with Dan Ige. He was saying he thinks Dan Ige is going to get it done. I believe Justin probably feels the same way. Aaron, let's turn over to you. What are your thoughts on this matchup? Lerone Murphy, undefeated, 14-0-1. What are your thoughts?
I don't know a ton about this, other than this is another spot. Like the first four fights we're all discussing, they're all in the minus 250. Actually, I think Lerone Murphy might be upwards of minus 275 or so. Dan Ige is a dog, and Dan Ige, he was kind of getting like, we're going to put him like one fight from, if he wins this fight, he might be fighting for the title. And then he loses. And then it's kind of like, well, we're not sure. Maybe he's slightly placeholder. But then he comes in and beats that ass on a couple guys that he's not expected to do. Like, I'm pretty sure he was expected to lose his last fight at, like, I think a last-minute replacement. Is that right, Justin?
Yes.
He was a somewhat last-minute replacement, right?
Okay. Oh, no,
so,
4 hours. 4 hours notice.
4 hours. And he lost the decision, but he fought Diego Lopez, who's fighting for a championship.
Oh, yeah. Diego Lopez is a bad. Oh, yeah.
Decision with him.
So, this... I don't know. Do you have like an underdog of the week or whatever? This to me, this is the best live dog
of the week. Yeah, absolutely.
This is the live dog I think you should be jumping on. I don't think this. Lerone Murphy's a very good fighter, but I don't think he's winning this like upwards of 3. I mean, he has to win about 73% of the time, right? If it's minus 275 is the standard odds, which I believe it is.
I just checked.
Some of them numbers.
It is minus 275. Yeah.
Okay. That's about 73%. I don't think he wins this fight almost 3 out of 4 times. Does he even win it 60% of the time? I don't really think so. So I'm going to be putting some money on Dan Ige on this one. That's definitely sure. Ige, like, unless I don't know, Justin, does Lerone Murphy have something that's just like a kryptonite for Dan Ige?
I don't even know who Lerone Murphy is, to be honest. I know he's 14-0, and I think this is a tall task for him to come in and fighting Dan Ige like this. Like, I mean, this could be Dan's chance to show, like, hey, look, I'm not just a stepping stone. I'm not just. You can't just bring these new kids in here. I'm here to win fights, and I think Dan Ige is going to do just that.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
His most notable win is Edson Barbosa. He's a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so maybe still not like a supremely talented or skilled grappler. But yeah, that's it. 14-0-1. So all right, there we go. There's the advice. And now, so we're Dan Ige is the bet to make. And now we come to our final fight. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm super excited about Shara Bullet. I don't know if you like Shara Bullet or not. Maybe you might think he's also one-dimensional, which probably he is. But he's very exciting, really fun to watch. Got the look, got the whole persona, amazing. Aaron, what do you think? He is favored to win against Armen Petrosyan. Oh, by the way, one last thing to mention. I don't know if you know too much about Armen Petrosyan, but my understanding from the presser was that Armen was planning to take him down. But then I looked up Armen Petrosyan's background. He's not a grappling guy. He's a Muay Thai guy. Yeah, he's a Muay Thai guy.
He's
So
not in that respect either. No, he doesn't do that. Yeah, he doesn't do that. So the way I look at it, I don't know a ton about these things, but the one thing that really stands out to me is the betting odds. And the betting odds in this respect, I expected Shara Bullet to be a decided favorite here, like maybe minus 300, minus 400 or so. And the fact that he's only about minus 170, to me, this seems like what the term we use in gambling industry is like a trap line, where it's like, it seems like most people are going to look at it and be like, hey, this guy Shara Bullet, he's 14-0. He's really exciting. Petrosyan, I think also, I might have mixed up my fighters, but I think Petrosyan might have 2 losses in his last 4 fights. I'm not positive. I don't have a computer in front of me.
He did.
So,
that's right.
And I think he is also coming off of a loss. And the fact that this is a guy who it seems like he's almost being fast-tracked to, wow, hey, we want to make this guy a star and whatever, because he is, even though he's actually, is he? I guess he's Eastern European. Yeah, he's Eastern European. He doesn't really. Yeah, okay. He doesn't really take guys down and that kind of thing. He's an exciting fighter, and the fact that he is only like in the 160 to 170 range seems to me like a trap line. Like, you know what? I think the smart money is saying Petrosyan is actually a super live dog here, because I think this line, under normal circumstances, knowing what we know, should be much higher, because people are like, oh, this guy's got the look. He's 14-0. He's super exciting. Yeah, he's definitely going to beat this guy who's coming off of a loss and has 2 losses in his last 4 and isn't like some big name or anything. So yeah, maybe Petrosyan just gets in there and tries to grab him. And I mean, even if Petrosyan is not a grappler, I mean, I'm guessing Shara is considered mostly, that he's great in stand-up. Like, yeah, you want to go grab the guy. Like, whatever if you can't beat the guy at what he's best at, then try and beat him at what he's worst at. Like, this is competition 101. It's if you're smart about it. And unfortunately, a lot of people in the UFC do not do that. But this guy, hey, he might be lower, and he might be like, you know what, I'm going to take this guy down. I'm going to take this guy down and, knock him down a peg, because I'm going to use him as a stepping stone. If they just think that I'm going to come in here and put up a good fight, and it's not like Dana White's taking care of his fighters or anything like that. So no, he's going to do what he thinks is best for him, hopefully. And if he thinks that's taking the guy down, then you should do it.
I think what would be really cool is if he did shoot for a takedown, he tried to take him down, and maybe we see Shara Bullet has been working on the takedown defense. He's able to thwart those. That would be super cool. I'd love to see the same thing for Alex Pereira if he does end up fighting Ankalaev. Man, how amazing. I mean, think about what he did to Jan Blachowicz, right? He did have great takedown defense. He did push that back. Jan Blachowicz was able to do so much against Izzy. He wasn't able to do that against Pereira. Pereira beat him. So I'd love to see that as well. People are always saying, yeah, Alex Pereira is going to struggle when he goes against a grappler. What if he doesn't? Everybody's mind is going to be blown. So same thing with Shara Bullet. Let's see what happens. I think that would be super cool. Not saying it's going to happen, but it'd be awesome if it did. Okay, that's it for this little special edition show. Aaron, I wanted to thank you so much for joining. Justin, thank you also for coming back on today.
My pleasure, man. I had a great time.
We're all in Vegas now, so I'm about to go leave the airport and meet up with everybody, and we're going to have an awesome weekend. We're going to watch the fights tomorrow morning, so that's going to be really fun. Thank you guys so much for joining. We really appreciate it. If you did like this video, make sure to click that like button, and if you want to see more from the 10-7 MMA show as we're growing, as we're evolving, as we're doing our 2 shows, Monday, Friday, plus a lot of other videos in between, make sure to click subscribe. We're at 411 subscribers. Doesn't sound like a lot to most people, but we're excited about it. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Take it easy.
Thanks, guys.